Okay, so you hear these terms thrown around all the time, right? Data breach, data spill, they're all over the news. And they both sound bad for sure. But here's the thing. One is a deliberate crime, and the other is basically a mistake. Today, we're going to break down which is which and why it really, really matters.
I mean, really think about it. All that personal info you've handed over, your name, your email, maybe even way more sensitive stuff, it's sitting on servers all over the world. So, how does it get out? Well, it almost always comes down to one of two ways.
All right, section 1. Let's call this the unlocked digital door. Think about it. We trust all these organizations with our data. But that trust can get broken in two main ways. Either somebody kicks the door in, or somebody just forgets to lock it in the first place. And that's why this matters so much. Getting the difference between a data breach and a data spill is absolutely crucial, because it tells you who's to blame, what the real danger is, and, how we can maybe start to protect ourselves. One's on purpose, one's a screw-up, but either way, the damage can be huge.
Okay, let's start with the data breach. And honestly, the best way to think about this is like a heist. Yeah, a full-on, planned-out robbery. This isn't random. It's targeted. And it's definitely malicious.
So, the key part of this whole definition is that phrase, unauthorized individuals. This isn't about some file getting lost in the shuffle. No. This is about someone, a cyber criminal, actively breaking into a digital vault to steal stuff they have no business seeing.
Right. It's just like a real-life burglar. They don't just, accidentally trip and fall into your house. They case the joint, they find a weak window lock, they smash a door down. And in the digital world, it's the exact same idea. That weak window, it's a vulnerability in some software. But the goal's identical. Get in and grab the valuables. And this example here, it just lays it all out perfectly. See, the important thing to notice isn't just the break-in itself. It's what happens after. The data isn't just looked at. It's stolen with a clear purpose, to be sold. It's a crime with a very clear motive, making money.
Okay, so if a breach is a planned heist, what's the flip side of that coin? Well, that's the data spill. And we're going to call this one the accident. Because here, you don't have some evil genius plotting in the shadows. Nope. What you have is, well, a simple but really critical mistake.
And the magic word here is accidental. The information gets exposed not because some hacker put it there, but because of a simple human error, a wrong setting, you name it. The intent isn't to cause harm, but boy, the result can be just as bad. And this analogy is just perfect. It's the complete opposite of the heist. Nobody forced their way in. The front door was just unlocked, available for anyone walking by to peek inside. The company didn't want this to happen, but because someone got careless, they basically laid out all their valuables on the front lawn.
And here's a classic example of how this happens in the real world. It's not some super complex hack by a shadowy group. It's one employee making one click on the wrong setting. Public instead of private. And boom, just like that. All those student grades are out there for the world to see.
So, okay, whether we're talking about a heist or an accident, what exactly is the treasure here? What are the valuables that are being exposed? Well, this is where we need to talk about two really important acronyms, PII and PHI.
PII stands for Personally Identifiable Information, and PHI is Protected Health Information. You can think of these as the crown jewels of your digital life. It's literally any piece of data that can point directly to you or spill the beans on your private medical history. This is what makes these events so incredibly dangerous.
Now, when you look at this list of PII, some of it seems kind of harmless, right? I mean, we give out our name and email address all the time. But here's the catch. The real danger isn't in any single piece of data. It's how a criminal can chain them all together. Your name plus your address plus your driver's license number. Wow, that is the perfect recipe for an identity thief to go open a credit card in your name. And then you've got PHI. This is a whole other level of private. This is the stuff you tell your doctor, assuming it's under lock and key forever. When this kind of data gets out, the damage goes way beyond money. It could be deeply embarrassing or even affect your job. This is the stuff we expect to be guarded like Fort Knox.
Just look at this number for a second. 150
147 million. Let that really sink in. That's not just some statistic. That's a person, a family, a life, times 147 million.
Because that's how many people had their most sensitive information, including Social Security numbers, exposed in that massive Equifax-inspired data breach back in 2017. I mean, that's nearly half the adult population of the US. It just shows you the insane, catastrophic scale we're talking about.
So, let's just boil this all down one more time. It's super simple. When you look at it side by side like this, it all clicks into place. It's all about intent. A breach? That's intentional. It's a heist. Data is being actively stolen. A spill? That's an accident, an error. Data is being exposed. Heist versus accident? That's really all you need to remember.
Okay, so knowing the difference is great. But the real question is, how do we stop this stuff from happening in the first place? So let's talk prevention. How do we fortify the vault? And as you can probably guess, the way you stop a planned heist is totally different from how you prevent a simple accident.
Right. To stop the heist, you have to think like you're building a fortress. You need strong digital walls, right? That's your firewalls and your encryption. You got to train your guards, and that's the employees, to recognize when they're being tricked, like with a phishing email. And you absolutely have to require multiple keys to get into the most sensitive areas. That's your multi-factor authentication. Every single step here assumes someone is actively trying to get in.
Now, for preventing an accident, the mindset is completely different. This isn't about fighting off an enemy. It's just about having good, solid habits. It's about making sure you double-check and triple-check that the digital door is locked. It means having clear, simple rules for how to handle sensitive files. And maybe the most important thing of all, it's asking that simple question, do we even really need to be storing this data at all?
And that really brings us to the final critical question. Now that you know the difference between a deliberate heist and a clumsy accident, it should change how you look at the companies you give your data to. Because it's not enough for them to have tall walls to stop a thief. You also have to ask, are they being careful enough to make sure nobody just leaves the front door wide open? And that difference? Well, that's everything.